Huawei Atlas 950 Supernode, reshaping the global path of AI computing power. How did Huawei build the world's most powerful computing supernode without top-tier chip manufacturing? On March 2, 2026, at the MWC in Barcelona, Spain, Huawei unveiled the Atlas 950 supernode overseas for the first time. The on-site European and American engineers and analysts were stunned. On camera, this behemoth, composed of 128 computing cabinets, was confirmed to be the world's most powerful computing supernode currently available. The most counterintuitive part? It doesn't rely on top-tier chip manufacturing, and its single-card computing power is far inferior to Nvidia's, yet it achieves crushing comprehensive performance. The answer is actually quite simple. Like integrating scattered soldiers into a highly precise legion, Huawei doesn't rely on a single card to fight 100. Instead, it uses communication technology to connect 8,192 NPUs, making them work together seamlessly like a single computer. What's more disruptive is that this is not exclusively a Chinese secret weapon, but an inevitable path for the global development of computing power, a path Nvidia has already been quietly following. Next, let's deconstruct this computing solution that shatters Western preconceptions and see what new inspirations it brings to global AI development. Let's start with some hard data. Without any exaggeration, the Huawei Atlas 950 supernode features 64 NPUs per node and can scale up to a maximum of 8,192 NPUs. Relying on Huawei's self-developed Links-U interconnect technology, it can seamlessly link 128 computing cabinets. Compared to mainstream industry solutions, its computing power is 6.7 times greater, its total training throughput is 17 times higher, and its total inference throughput reaches a staggering 26.5 times. This is more than enough to support the training and inference of models with trillions or even tens of trillions of parameters. However, we must be honest, constrained by chip manufacturing processes, its single-card computing power lags significantly behind Nvidia's A100 and H100. Huawei executive Wu Hui frankly admitted this point at the Beijing Artificial Intelligence Industry Innovation and Development Conference on February 18. Hidden behind this is a trend largely ignored by mainstream Western media. Moore's law has long been hitting a wall. A January 2026 report by the paper showed that the increase in transistor density on a single chip has reached its physical limit. The growth rate of computational resources required by AI models far exceeds the pace of semiconductor process advancements. Furthermore, power consumption by U.S. data centers is projected to reach 12% of the national total by 2028, triple the current amount. Stanford University professor Fei-Fei Li also warned in an interview last November that simply scaling up computing power stacks will not lead to fundamental breakthroughs in AI. We need new technological paths. Huawei's choice is precisely to compensate for physics with mathematics, and compensate for Moore's law with non-Moore approaches, abandoning the stubborn pursuit of 3 nanometers and 2 nanometers chips, and instead amplifying its advantages in system integration. By comparison, Nvidia is also making moves. Jensen Huang revealed in a February speech that they are deeply collaborating with companies like Cisco and Synopsys to perfect their system platform capabilities, an approach essentially cut from the same cloth as Huawei's. This clearly proves that the future of computing power lies not in single-card breakthroughs, but in the competition of system efficiency. Huawei merely anticipated this trend ahead of time. It provides the global AI industry with a more cost-effective and sustainable solution. Especially for countries and enterprises that cannot easily acquire top-tier chips, this may be the critical path to breaking the computing power monopoly. Many Western observers hold a misconception. They believe the core of a computing center is the chip. But that is not the case. Looking at the cost structure, chips account for less than 20% of the entire computing center. The true core is system engineering, requiring the collaborative iteration of the entire ecosystem, including system integration, liquid cooling, optical communication, power supply, and memory. Huawei's advantage lies exactly in its decades of accumulated communication technology. Its Links-U interconnect technology can achieve unified memory addressing, allowing data to be transmitted at high speeds across 128 computing cabinets. The memory capacity of the Atlas 950 is 15 times that of the industry mainstream, and its interconnect bandwidth reaches an astounding 62 times. This brings to mind Lumai, a company based in Oxford, UK, which is developing 3D optical AI accelerators. Their core idea is also to break through the bottlenecks of electronic computing via optical interconnection. Microsoft Research's analog optical computer has even achieved a 100-fold increase in energy efficiency. The difference is that Huawei has already translated a similar system integration concept into a mature product, whereas many European and American companies are still in the R&D phase. Behind this is the support of China's ultra-large-scale market. Over the past 5 years, more than 30,000 enterprises have completed digital transformations using Huawei solutions. The refinement process in these real-world scenarios has allowed Huawei's system solutions to iterate and mature rapidly. This is not a special case of a state-controlled system, but the inevitable result of market drive plus technological accumulation. It challenges the entrenched perception that innovation can only originate from Silicon Valley, proving that different developmental paths can give birth to cutting-edge technology. The ultimate battle for computing power is, after all, a battle of ecosystems, a point on which both Huawei and Nvidia agree. Huawei's strategy is clear: open hardware and open source software. On the hardware front, Huawei opens its modules, standard cards, and motherboards to global partners, focusing only on core components and interconnect technology, while leaving system integration, liquid cooling, and other aspects to be jointly perfected by the industry. On the software front, Huawei's CAN platform went fully open source last year. Currently, 13,000 developers have contributed over 420 high-performance operators, and many European and American universities and startup teams are conducting R&D based on this platform. While Nvidia's CUDA ecosystem is mature, it is highly closed, posing a high barrier to entry for small and medium-sized developers. The key question here is, does AI development need openness or a closed system? Fei-Fei Li emphasized in her interview that AI progress is the accumulated result of generations of researchers, and the closed ecosystem of a single enterprise will ultimately restrict the popularization of the technology. Huawei's open source and open platform strategy is not just about building an independent Chinese ecosystem, it's about providing a new choice for global developers. It breaks the paradigm that computing ecosystems can only be dominated by Western companies, allowing more countries and developers to participate in the innovation of AI computing power. This bears undeniable significance for addressing global imbalances in AI development and the unequal distribution of computing resources. Of course, we cannot avoid the controversies. Huawei's computing solution still faces issues such as an insufficiently mature software ecosystem and inadequate adaptation in certain professional scenarios, which are areas requiring continuous improvement. Yet, undeniably, the debut of the Atlas 950 provides a brand new path for the global development of AI computing power. It tells us that there isn't just one road to breakthroughs in computing power. When single-card upgrades hit a bottleneck, system integration and ecological synergy might be the more realistic choice. For global tech practitioners, rather than dwelling on who is stronger, we should consider how this new path can solve our shared challenges. How can we increase computing power while reducing energy consumption? How can we allow more people to enjoy the dividends of AI technology? Follow me to step outside the East vs West confrontational perspective and understand the underlying logic of global technological development. In the next episode, we'll discuss how Western companies are responding to this new competitive landscape in computing power. Thanks for watching, reading, and see you next time.